Hello, this is Steven again, also known on social media as The Wiz1, and back to another episode. This is our second video uh, documenting the Take Profit Trader Challenge 5 evaluation account challenge, where we're trying to turn these into pro accounts for an 80-20 profit split, then turn the pro account into pro plus account. And we're trying to do that across all 550K accounts. So just for record keeping, each account we are up 520, going for 3,000, and we're going to make the minimum for five trading days. We're only trading one micro, excuse me, yeah, one micro MES and NQ moving forward, maybe two, depending on the setup, and depending on the risk. And if we go through all the accounts, you can see that we have 633. Generally speaking, 650 profit, um, 539. We'll check in with this constantly, and 577. So all these counts are copy trading. I did trade a couple of them before I had copy trading set up. So we're going to go into Quantower today. So we're going to come back to our main screen, which we'll start with in every stream. And we are going to shift gears to talk about Quantower. This is one of the platforms that I use to help me make better decisions in trading. I also use Bookmap, which we'll talk about in another episode, which is also an excellent platform. And we will get to those in other episodes, but today, Quantower it is. So we're just going to kind of go through the interface and the different sections. I'm not going to talk about every single detail, just going to give you the highlights. So over here on the right side, we have the order book with some imbalances, which I really don't pay too much attention to be honest with you. I do look at the order book, and I'm looking for these large areas with lots of orders, resting orders, limit orders. Very similar to Bookmap. I prefer, I kind of prefer Bookmap because it's, I'm just more used to it, and it doesn't mean that it's better per se than Quantower. Um, but I use them both. Um, but I use Quantower for different reasons. And one of the main reasons I like it is for this power trades feature. So let's say if you look on the chart to the left, you'll see I have a lot of these candles that are highlighted in gold. Now these gold candles have a filter on them that shows at least 1,500 contracts traded in a 5-second interval of time. So there are high volume areas that where lots of supply and demand changed hands quickly. So this gives me a good idea as to where price is going to react. And if you look at some of the places where it bounced, you're going to see these high nodes. Same thing here. And we could do that all the way back to different areas where we can see price reacted often before reversing or changing direction. Same thing here, reacts in this zone, etc., etc. At the bottom, reverse back up. So at some point, we would expect price to react at these areas again, at least to some degree. But I love that feature because it really gives me some good ideas as to where price may react again in reverse or change directions, or at least have some type of reaction. So when you highlight one of those gold areas, you can see in the table exactly when it occurred and the delta on it, whether there was more selling or buying in that 1,500 contracts or whatever, at least 1,500. And it shows you if it was more green or more red, and you can click anywhere in the table and it will take you to those points. So that's a pretty cool feature. I really like it. Very quick and easy way to find levels. Now, one more thing that I like to do is add anchored VWAPs. Now it's going to be a little busy when you see everything, but there is a method to my madness. And you'll notice I have some levels marked. And those are kind of important, but not really using them right now. So I'm going to get rid of them. So I do have some levels marked. Now, these levels up here, these are more right now. So I have some lines marked where prices reacted before. Just some kind of guidelines. Those are just very basic things that I'm looking at. Then I kind of go into a little more detail. So the first thing I like to do is look at the higher time frame to help me make decisions. So I always go to the 1 hour time frame first, and it's pretty easy to do. You just select it from the time frame area, and one criteria for the 1 hour is I like to see price make a new high before it returns and rejects down. Then I'm going to expect it to make another high. An example would be like up here, it was a red candle, but we did make a new high. We retraced all the way down, and we moved up to make another high. That would just be one example. Another example would be here, where we actually bounced off this VWAP line that I have. It's an anchored VWAP. I've anchored to very specific locations. At the time, this was a swing high from this swing low, so I have one anchor to the high and to the low. Then we had some consolidation, moved below it, so lots of buying at this anchored VWAP area before price continued to move up, and we had some consolidation. But you can see where these nodes are, we have strong reactions to price. So that's not the end all be all, but they do help. And sometimes I get a little carried away with the VWAPs, but everything has a reason, and it doesn't look very clear on this 1 hour chart because most of them are anchored to 5-minute candles. So now that we kind of determine that price has rejected and moved back up, I'm not convinced yet that it's not going to move back farther, because where it rejected from, it's not a very high volume area. We definitely had a reaction and we broke through it and then came back into this high volume where things are being traded. Now we're testing back into this VWAP that I have drawn here, and I believe we may move back down. And I'll explain a little bit how I come to that conclusion. And it's again looking at the DOM over here. So in the DOM, you can see we have some highlighted levels where there's more resting orders sitting. And I would expect that maybe price actually, once the London session opens, that we may actually get a retracement back down a little bit to maybe one of these VWAPs down here before price returns and starts to go higher again to make higher highs, because I am bullish. Also looking at the daily, for example, you can see that even though it's a red candle, we still made higher highs. And today we've already started by making higher highs. So there is a pretty bullish sentiment right now. So buying pullbacks is kind of the bias. Maybe short scalping on occasion. So now that we've kind of went over the general way that I analyze, looking at these 5-minute candles, you see these gray ones, very much indecision, lots of wicks with very small bodies. Now the chart type that I'm using here is a style is called Quantower, and I like it because it shows where all the volume has been traded. You could go to standard candles, which you can kind of see the same thing, right, when you highlight it. But I kind of like the Quantower candle view, so that's another distinguishing factor that I like a little bit better, because we can see where consolidation, accumulation, and distribution, depending on whether we're at a high or a low, is happening. And we're kind of just right at this VWAP line right now. Just testing it. And it's flattened out, so we're still consolidating. Eventually, we're going to make a move. I would venture to think that we could go either way, but looks like we're starting to get some more, another wall right above, a sell wall, where we may come up to this VWAP at about 416, 415, 416. Or maybe all the way back up to where price tested before. So this line that I have here is a pretty strong level where we could reject from. Now, talking about these custom VWAPs, if I create an anchor from the top, we can kind of see that price may reject at that 415. That's this level right here. So that's kind of how I use these VWAPs and anchored VWAPs from swing highs and swing lows in different areas of interest. You can pretty much anchor them to anything. And I have some other criteria for it, such as open high, low close 4, putting equal value on all points where it averages from. And then I take off the deviation bands because it just gets too cluttered for me. So essentially, I could expect price maybe to come back up here before it rejects a little bit lower. It could come all the way down to this 406 before returning back up, or we may just consolidate between these two areas. But for me, it's a pretty much a no trade zone until I get a bounce off of this VWAP back to the top, or we retrace down to a lower level where we can take it back up higher. So that's kind of how I use Quantower to help me make decisions. And that's my basic decision-making process as to how I identify levels and the different tools on the interface that allow me to do that. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. I probably won't take another trade today because it's pretty late. We have London session opening up in about 40 minutes. So I'm a little bit tired. We're going to call it a night. Thank you for watching this video. We'll go into Bookmap and how I use that in the next episode. And I'll give you a little bit of update on where we are as far as the account goes. And before I forget, I almost forgot, if I didn't already mention it, I have it copy trading all 5 accounts where I can see my positions, and I can also see all my account information for each of the 5 accounts that I have over here. So essentially that's all I use in Quantower at the moment. I do use TradingView for alerts because I find it difficult to be able to monitor. You can't really send alerts through your phone through Quantower, which is quite a shame. I wish I could do everything from one platform, but the fact that I have to use Bookmap and Quantower and TradingView to get the setup and the functionality that I get is a little bit of a pain in the ass because you got to pay more money, but it works for me, and you need to have your tools that work for you. And just like anybody that works in a technical field, they're going to have lots of tools, and they need different tools to get the job done. You can't always use a hammer for everything, or a saw. You need a hammer and a saw and a screwdriver and a whatever to get the job done. So thank you for tuning in to this episode. Please leave a comment, please subscribe, please let me know where you are in your journey, and I look forward to sharing the next episode and the results and progress that we are making on this challenge. Thank you so much. Until next time, peace out.